You ready to make your first shirt, skirt, dress, whatever it is, you're ready? You have your fabric picked out, perfect pattern? Here's the secret to having that fit perfectly every single time. Take your measurements. And today, I'm going to show you how. Hi guys, it's Dr. Care. Welcome back. Today we are obviously not in the sewing room. We're not going to be sewing today. We are taking measurements. This is the most important step when you are sewing any piece of clothing. If you don't have the correct measurements, it's not going to fit right. And quite honestly, some of the fabric out there is really expensive and you don't want to mess it up. So this is where the saying, measure twice, cut once, is most important. So to start with, the most important thing we need is our soft tape measure. This is going to be your best friend for today. And if you don't have one of these, you need to get one, especially if you plan on sewing for a while. In a pinch, you can use a piece of string or ribbon and then measure it with a regular ruler, but this is just going to save you time. Go ahead and do that. You might need tape. Sometimes, especially if you're doing this on your own, it's that extra set of hands that you need. If I don't have my tape, I don't go too far without my clips. Love these things. You need a pen and paper to write everything down. And of course, I can't do anything without my coffee. And today, I don't have to have a lid on it. I'm going to step back a little bit. I'm going to show you exactly where we're going to measure. But first, on your paper, you want to write down 4 different words. We're going to measure our high bust, which is right below the armpit. You're going to measure the full bust. You're going to measure your waist, and you're going to measure your hips. If you are doing pants or a skirt and you want to do the leg length, I'll add that in on the end. Yes, you may be used to wearing a certain size in off-the-rack clothing. Here's the problem. In off-the-rack clothing, different brands go by different sizes, and what may be a large in one size may be a medium or an extra large in a different brand. So the only way you can ensure that your garments that you sew yourself are going to be as perfectly fitting as you possibly can is to take your measurements. Do not go by your off-the-rack clothing sizes. You're going to be disappointed, and I don't want that for you. Okay, we're going to start with the high bust. So we're going to take our tape measure. I'm going to bring it around, and I knotted mine, so I'm going to take the knot out first because that's not going to help anything. Now we're going to bring it around, and we're going to bring it underneath our arms. You're doing this at home. You want to have tighter clothes on, or you can do this in your underwear. I am not going to do this in my underwear. This is not that type of video. So you're going to bring this first around my hair back so you can see. Bring it above your bust line, right underneath your armpit. It helps if you have a second person, but you can totally do this yourself. And then you're going to go ahead and, before you look at the number, take a deep breath, because we want to be able to breathe in our clothes. Turning blue doesn't always go with every color. Okay. And then we're going to write it down. I'm doing mine in inches. Obviously, if you do metric, that's what you need to do. Most pattern companies actually do have a list of inches and also in metric. So you can go either way with it. Next, we're going to do our full bust. So we're going to go around the fullest part of our bust. Again, in front of a mirror or something that you can't see how it goes down. It's because I let go. I'm going to bring it around to the fullest part. Bring it in. Take a deep breath. We need to be able to breathe. Look at the number and then add that in. The reason why we're taking both the high bust and the full bust measurements, if you're a curvy girl like me, for some of the more fitted garments like a dress or a blouse, you may have to do a full bust adjustment. Or if you're on the more petite side, you may have to do a smaller bust adjustment. And this way it allows you to custom fit the top portion of the garment. I know for myself, normally I have to buy things according to my bust line and instead of the rest of me. And so I do have to alter some things just to make them fit more appropriately. Now we're going to do our waist measurement. So we're going to take our tape measure again. We're going to go around your waist where you think it is. So first, you're going to put one hand on one side, one hand on the other, to be able to determine exactly where your waist is. You're going to bend, and wherever it dips in, wherever you start bending at, that's your waist on that side. So I adjust where I have the tape measure here. I'm going to come back up. I'm going to go on the other side, adjust my hand a little bit, bring it back up, and bring them across. That is your true waist. Some people will say go by the narrowest part of your waist. No, you want to go by where you bend. We can adjust it on patterns, and I will show you how in future video, in the next video. But for now, you want to get your true waist. Don't go by your belly button. Not always the best thing to do. So before you look at the number, take a deep breath again. We want to breathe in our clothes. Okay, the tape measure should never be digging into your skin. Okay, I'm actually happier because that's smaller than I thought it was going to be. And then we're going to find our hips. So you're going to bring this around to where you think is the fullest part of your hip right now. Once again, breathe. But before you go and look at the number, what I want you to do is begin to try to slide the tape measure down. If it is not sliding down, you did not hit the widest part of your hip. So you want to keep on trying to slide it down until the tape measure becomes loose. You want to go right back up where it was a little bit tight. That is the fullest part of your hip. And then you're going to go ahead and again, take a breath. And then take a look at the number. We're not breathing because we're going to look at the number. We're breathing to give the amount of space to breathe. So now we have the basic measurements for our top half. But I'm going to add in something else for girls who are, or women who are even curvier than I am. So if you have more of a belly on you and you want that to have that accommodation within the hips as well, what some people will do you're going to take a piece of paper and you're going to again go back to where you found your waist, and you're going to bring this in, and you can either use your tape or I'm going to use a clip to clip it to my shirt, my pants, whatever I have going on, or I could tape it to my skin. When you bring your tape measure around, you want to make sure that you're not pulling the paper in. You want to bring that so that it goes along with the paper. This way, it accommodates for a larger belly. It's another way to get things that fit very custom. This is actually really, really, really important to do if you are measuring yourself for a skirt, a fitted skirt portion of a dress, or for pants. It just takes away from having to do what they call a swing back adjustment, because when there's that extra space that needs to be accommodated for, it just makes it easier so that the fabric drapes very nicely over you. Last thing we're going to do is go ahead and I'm going to show you how I take the measurement for my leg length. If I were to do a pair of pants, capris, even a longer dress, this is how I would do it. And it's actually the way that I measure leg length as a physical therapist when I have to measure leg length for different types of braces and back issues. I find it gives the most exact placement, and I'm going to show you how. Now we're going to take our leg length. This is really important for a skirt, shorts, for pants, capris, leggings. So this one we're going to use our tape for. And we're going to find two areas. We're going to find our inner ankle. So I'm going to tape this on my inner ankle. And then instead of going, because sometimes they'll have you go from the outer ankle to the hip. I don't do that. As a physical therapist, you get a much more exact leg length. You want to stand nice and straight, inner ankle, and then you're going to push on the front of your pelvis over towards the hip until you find a bony prominence. So you're going to feel this little bony point right in here. This is your anterior superior iliac spine. It's part of your pelvis. And that's going to be the outer portion of what you measure towards. So it is the little bone right here in the front, ASIS, and then to the inner ankle. And you're going to look at your measurements. You don't need to breathe at this one. And there you have it. That's how I do leg length. I do not go from the outside ankle. I don't do from the hip into the groin. I go up and across. For me, I find that it works the best, at least for my body shape. Sometimes you may have to play with different patterns and see which works for you. Let's go over what we measured today. We went over why it's important to take our measurements. Do not go by your off the rack sizing. Don't do it. So we did the high bust underneath the armpit. We did the full bust. Together, those numbers will show us when we get to our pattern whether we have to do a full bust adjustment or not. And then we found our true waist, hands at the side, right where you bend. That's where your true waist is. Incidentally, my waist is very short distance to the bottom of my rib cage, so that means that I am short-waisted. Makes it a little bit harder to fit off the rack clothes for me. We did our hips and how to find the fullest part of our hips. We added in how to accommodate for a larger belly to make sure that everything fits perfectly and the clothes drape over us perfectly instead of form-fitting too much. And we also measured our leg length, the way that I do it as a physical therapist. So I wanted to just take a moment and say, yes, it is hard looking at those numbers sometimes. I fully acknowledge that. And I do fully admit I feel really vulnerable standing here measuring myself in front of you. But here's the thing. These numbers are not meant to harm us. They are to help us. These numbers don't define us. They help us create garments that make us feel more beautiful, but also just look really, really good. I can't stress how inclusive and how body positive the sewing community really is. And for me, as somebody who has always struggled with my weight, it's really refreshing to see that within the sewing community. And I hope you find the same thing as well. So if you find this helpful and you're ready to take these numbers and go ahead and put them to a pattern, I will show you in the next video how to custom size those patterns for you. Don't forget to click subscribe, click like, let me know how you're doing. Let me know what you plan on sewing. And thanks guys, it's always great to see you. Bye.